Since our app is about creating journal entries, we need a model that's going to represent a journal entry. So let's do that now. So I'm going to hit Command N for a new file. I'm going to make it a Swift file. Hit Next. And I'm going to call it Journal Entry. Make sure it's in the journal group. Hit Create. And I have a blank Swift file. So I'm going to create a class, Journal Entry. And I'm going to create some properties. I'm going to make it, put a little space in there. Let date be an NS date, okay, which is just how Swift handles dates. But I need a date, and I need the contents, right, of my journal entry. I need something to write about. That'll be a string. And I also want to format that date. So I'm going to create a date formatter. And that's going to be of type NS date formatter. And you'll notice that the difference here is I created an instance of the date formatter class, but here I have not initialized date or contents. So I'm going to need an initializer to set the date and contents when I create a new instance of a journal entry. So I'm going to do my init. I'm going to create a date, which will be of type NSDate. And I'm going to create the contents of type string. And I can say self.date equals date. Okay, so let this date equal whatever date is passed. And self.contents equals the contents that are passed when created. So there I have a journal entry class, and so when I create a new journal entry, it'll instantiate there. Well, how can we use this in our table view controller? So I'm going to go back to my file here, and I'm going to, in my view did load, I'm going to create an entry. So I'll say let entry equal a new journal entry, and the date will be NS date, which essentially gets what the date and time is right now. And then my contents will just be a happy day. Whoops. So now I've created a new entry. And let's go ahead and print what that entry looks like. Make sure I have no errors. And let's go ahead and run that. And let's look at the console when it comes up. So when I printed an entry, it just printed the journal.journal entry. It just gave me information about the object itself. I kind of wanted the date and time, which would have been more helpful. So in order to do that, we need to add something called a custom string convertible. So if I go to my journal entry, I'm going to make it conform to the custom string convertible. And if you remember, if you've ever worked with Python, and you created a Python class, you had basically you could create a method called underscore underscore str and then 2 more underscores, and that was a string representation of what you wanted your class to say. So you could customize what you wanted the text to be when someone printed the actual instance of your class. And so custom string convertible does pretty much the same thing. So we're going to add a method or a property called description. And you can see that we had the error before. That's because we had not followed this protocol. Description, it's going to be a string. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to format my date here first. So I'm going to do date formatter. I'm going to set my date style to equal medium style. And I'm going to do the same thing for my time style. And then finally, I'm going to return my date formatter, and then the string from date, and then the date. So again, I'm just setting the style of the date and the time, and then I'm returning the information from that date formatter as a string. So I'm taking the date that was passed and making it a string and returning that information so that when I print it, I'm getting some more useful information. Let's go ahead and try to run this again now. Yep, stop whichever one is running. Let's check out the console here. And now you can see it says entry, and then it gives me the actual date and the time that I ran this. Okay, so now we know that at least our journal entry class works. So let me go ahead and stop this. I'm going to go back to my journal table view controller, and now that I know this works, I'm going to go ahead and delete this piece of information. So now that we've got the journal model working, instead of having these random numbers appearing, we want some date and time information, and we'll take care of that next.